Hello everyone, it's Melanie here with Vintage Hill Studio. I'm so glad you dropped by today. I'll be making some cards using ready-made chipboard tags that look like this, and I'm also going to show you how to make an easy peasy lined envelope. So let's jump into it. Here are the papers I'll be using, and these are the chipboard tags by Craftsmart. I found these at Michael's. It's a 50-piece set, and these are so adorable. There are 5 different designs in this little box of tags. And I mean, there's so many uses for this, but I love using them on my cards. So let me just show you a sample here of some of the images on these tags. Aren't these beautiful? I mean, the options here are limitless. So I will show you what I'll be doing with this little paper pad called Garden Party by Pebbles. I chose 2 papers here that I thought coordinate well with the little tag with the bicycle. Of course, you know I'm a little partial to the bicycles. This is a 5 by 7 inch card base that I'll be working on, and I'll cut these 2 papers down to fit on the card front, and I'm going to layer them up like this. So the mats that I'm using, the pink mat of course is 5 by 4 inches, and then the polka dot is cut down to 5 inches by 3 inches. And I'll get those layered on the front of my card. I'll be using a little liquid adhesive to get these put down. That gives me a little bit of wiggle room to move stuff around if I need to. And this is the way I like to approach this. I will also be using this Loops and Rick Rack decorative strip die. This is by Sizzix, and I'm going to cut out this little Rick Rack looking strip here using a dark gray. Now, I used the Sizzix multi-platform, and I've got it on tab 1, which is what I used for this decorative strip. Your die cutting machines may have different directions. Just go by what they suggest for this. And I'll get that run through my Sizzix Big Shot. And I've got my little piece of Rick Rack. That's going to go on the front of my card, kind of bordering the 2 layers there to just make that a nice and neat finish. Next, I'll be cutting out the Happy Birthday die cut. That's by Crafter's Companion, and I'm using that same dark gray cardstock. Now I flipped over to tab 2 on my multi-purpose platform, and I'll get that run through. I like to run through a little more detailed dies a couple of times, and this scripty Happy Birthday certainly falls into the detailed category. To help me get that out, I use my Tool-in-One from Spellbinders. You can see it's got that little brush to help loosen some of this cardstock, and also the pointed end to get out the finer details from the letters. So there is my scripty sentiment. Now I'll move on to putting this card together, and again, by using liquid adhesive, you can see I can make some fine-tuning adjustments here. Because the adhesive doesn't dry all that fast, I can move this around just to make some minute adjustments. And off to the right there, you can see I like to store my liquid adhesive nozzle down just in an old cup that I have, and that keeps the glue down in the tip, so that when I'm ready to move on, my glue is ready as well. I like to use a brayer after I put my little mats down, just to make sure I'm squishing that glue all around under that mat and getting a really good adhesion to the front of my card. All right, getting this lined up on the corners. Use my brayer to really push that down. And I went ahead and put that little strip of Rick Rack there in between the layers. Now I'm simply going with a little piece of 3/16 inch ribbon and running that through from front to back on my chipboard tag to give me a little finishing touch for the front of my card here. I'll just go back and add a little more adhesive over that ribbon and around that hole, and this will be ready to put on my card. I like to put these on an angle just for a little bit of interest. Now I want to make sure I really get this adhered to the front, because the chipboard tag is not all that thick, but it is a little heavier than cardstock. So I want to make sure I have really good adhesion between the back of the chipboard and the front of my card. Just get this sentiment, putting little dots of glue down on my sentiment, and I'll get that adhered on my chipboard tag as well. And that will pretty much finish up the front of my card. Don't these come together quickly? And look how cute. I think it's turns out cute, and the chipboard actually is doing most of the work for you. And with 50 pieces in the box, my goodness, you can make a lot of cards. Okay. Here is my finished card from the front. A close-up on the chipboard tag itself. And then the inside of my card, I did a little heat embossing with a stamp there. And this is just another example using one of the other chipboard tags. Alright, now moving on to making an easy peasy envelope liner. This is so quick and easy, you should really give it a try. So I simply measure across and also the length of my envelope, giving me a little allowance for that gum line, and then I simply take a piece of coordinating paper and reduce that by about 1/4 of an inch. Now slip that down into my envelope, making sure that it's even on each side. And when I feel like that's nice and even, I'll take the flap and just crease that with my fingers. Then I come back and take a pencil and just mark one side of my envelope liner. Take that out of my envelope, fold it in half without creasing it, and then I'll simply take my scissors and cut inside my pencil line to mimic the angle of the envelope flap. And that is it. No special dies, no tricky measurements. I mean, that's really it. Now, to make a customized liner, because I could go with the gray, it looks great, but I really like this little momentous stamp here that happens to coordinate with my chipboard tag. So I'll take some ink, pull my liner out, and just make my own customized liner paper. Use anything you have on hand. You can see some of my other videos on YouTube for coordinating envelope liners, and some of them I use embossing folders. I mean, let your imagination run wild here. Just patterned paper is fine. You can emboss these liners. You can stamp the liners. I'm just giving you a few ideas to go by here in case you want to give this a try. Now, you don't have to go all the way down to the bottom because it will never show on the inside of your envelope. But just reinsert the liner, and then when you're ready to apply adhesion to the edges of the envelope flap, do that. You can see it's just 2 edges here of your flap, because you want your liner to be able to move when the flap is open and closed. That's why you don't put any adhesive down inside the flap. And that is it for lining your envelopes. So one last finishing touch I like to add is some coordinating image on the outside of my envelopes, on the front and also on the back flap. It just adds that little extra touch. If you're going to go to the trouble of making a handmade card for someone, why not finish with a beautiful lined and decorated envelope? You can see how quickly this came together. Why wouldn't you give it a try? That's why it's called an easy peasy envelope liner. So I hope that you will give all of these techniques a try. I think it's well worth it. It's a lot of fun, and everything comes together so fast and so easily. I'm so glad you joined me today. I would love it if you'd leave me some comments, subscribe. You will get a notification each week when I post my videos. So happy to have you, and happy crafting, everyone.